A lot of action is finally being taken by Congress to help families that are financially struggling right now due to the crisis. Millions will be able to claim stimulus of up to $200 a month. And now, a national average gas price has fallen slowly in mid-July, down to $4.67 from the record high of just $5 in June 2022. According to AAA, the drop occurred in spite of increased demand, sparked by holiday weekend travel and summer vacations. But many Americans are still struggling to fill their tanks while juggling other expenses. California Democrats Representative Khanna and Sheldon Whitehouse have proposed a big oil windfall profits tax in a stated effort to reduce gas prices even further. Under the legislation, large oil companies like ExxonMobil would pay a per barrel tax equal to 50% of the difference between the current price per barrel and the pre-crisis average price and the pre-crisis level before. Tax revenue would go back to taxpayers earning less than $75,000 or $150,000 filing jointly as a quarterly rebate to alleviate some of the ongoing pain at the pump. Lawmakers in Congress estimate that single filers get roughly $240 a year and that joint filers cash in on about $360 annually. Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman and Bernie Sanders have introduced complementary legislation targeting price gougers in the oil and gas sector. A bill proposed by 3 House Democrats would send money every month to families when the national average for gas is more than $4 a gallon. Under the legislation proposed by Mike Thompson, John Larson, and Lauren Underwood, eligible families would receive $100 per month plus another $100 for each dependent. In the meantime, many states have enacted or are working on implementing a gas tax holiday to provide some relief from high gas prices this summer. As recently as mid-June, President Biden was still considering a federal gas tax holiday, a move which could save Americans 18 cents a gallon. This week, gas costs less in South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee than it did before. And since the enhanced child tax credit reverted to its original maximum of $2,000 per child, similar initiatives by the U.S. government have been stalled. In response, many states have begun to introduce their own child tax credit programs, varying in scope and available credit amount. The Pennsylvania state has now joined 12 other states providing relief through state legislated child tax credits and deductions. The governor, Tom Wolf, has recently signed off on the state's new $45 billion budget.
Chip industry has gone up. It is now at $76 billion. And the corporate lobbyists working on this bill, like pigs at the trough, are not yet finished. They want more and more and more. Their needs are insatiable. Mr. President, needless to say, I do not usually quote approvingly from the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. They are not my best friends, and in fact, I think I get attacked on that page more than any other member of the Congress. But as you know, a broken clock is right twice a day, and even the Wall Street Journal got this one right. Among the many reasons they urge Congress to vote against this bill is one that I think is very relevant, and let me quote. This is from the Wall Street Journal editorial page today. Quote, "The chip bill isn't needed to compete with China, and it will set a precedent that other industries will follow. Anybody who can throw up a China competition angle will ask for money. Why Republicans want to sign up for this is a mystery," end of quote, Wall Street Journal. And the point they make is a good one. We should be clear that over 90% of the cell phones used in this country, over 90% of the laptops used in this country are made in China. So you pass this bill, and tomorrow we'll hearing, I no doubt, from the cell phone industry, from the computer laptop industry, about how they need their welfare checks as well. So I think the Wall Street Journal, every once in a while, makes a good point. Today they did. Mr. President, I recently came across a very, very interesting interview that the CEO of Intel, Mr. Pat Gelsinger, did last Friday on CNBC's Squawk Box. And I think that interview that he did tells us everything that we want to know about the American oligarchy, about corporate arrogance, and the state of American politics. And this is what Mr. Gelsinger said last Friday, and I quote, Mr. Gelsinger, head of Intel, quote, "My message to congressional leaders is, hey, if I'm not done with the job, I don't get to go home. Neither should you." He's talking to Congress. "Do not go home for August recess until you are past the CHIPS Act, because I and others in the industry will make investment decisions. And do you want those investments?"
He attended the Naval Academy, served in the U.S. Navy, was Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, both for African Affairs and for Population, Refugee, and Migration. I met him as Ambassador to the African Union, knew him well as Dean of the Elliott School at GW. He took on the challenge of service as the President of the University of the South, better known as Sewanee, and now our President has nominated him to represent us in South Africa. As we've seen in recent votes and actions at the United Nations, and in discussions and debates around the world, African countries in this moment, during this war in Ukraine, in the face of Russia's aggression, are turning away from us. They are not believing the reality that it is Russian aggression that is causing food scarcity and fertilizer prices to spike. And they are more than not taking Russia's side in this. We cannot take these relationships for granted. The United States, for decades, has been a close development and public health partner of South Africa. We have to send our best, and Ambassador Brigitte is the right person at the right time to advance the critical relationship goals that we have between the United States and South Africa. One of the blessings, Mr. President, of serving here in the Senate is getting to know natives of New Jersey, like yourself, and like my foreign policy advisor, Allie Davis. I will do my best to get through these next few minutes of remarks without being unduly emotional, but she deserves a catch in the throat and a tear in the eye, because Allie is someone who, from the moment she came to join my team 6 years ago, has been a remarkable person, a person of great spirit and character, someone who also spent time in South Africa as a young person. After graduating from the University of Delaware, a tour as a Fulbright in South Africa prepared her to join my team as a foreign policy fellow. As she was just confessing to me in my office a few moments ago, she knew far less about governance and politics than I imagined. She carries herself with remarkable